Good morning, and thanks so much for spending part of your Sunday morning with us. 239 people. Doesn't seem like a big number, yet it is certainly cause for concern for local political and economic leaders. Latest U.S. Census Bureau figures show Pittsburgh lost 239 people in its population from 2015 to 16. It is the third straight year of a decline, a slight one, but still a decline nonetheless. The population of Allegheny County also was down during that same period by almost 4,000 people. Now, there was some good news. Unemployment in the Pittsburgh area decreased during April by 0.5%, dipping to 5.3%. However, the workforce in the 7-county regional area also went down by 5,900 people. Doug Heuck, the founder, editor, and publisher of Pittsburgh Quarterly Magazine and director of Pittsburgh Today, part of Pitt's Center for Social and Urban Research, is back with us to take a look at these numbers. Doug, how are you?
Great, thanks. Nice to be here, Rick.
Good to see you. As these numbers come out, you look at, let's start with the population first of all and foremost. Pittsburgh now ranks as the 63rd largest city in the United States, decline of 239. Does that amount, percentage-wise, amount to much of anything that is statistically relevant in this case?
No, 239 people means the population has stayed flat, essentially. And when we think of cities, you know, we say 63rd, my goodness, what does that mean? Well, I mean, we're really talking metropolitan areas, and I think we're 26. So, no, it doesn't. What it means is that we are staying flat, essentially. I mean, as you mentioned, some almost 4,000 drop in the metro area year over year. Even that is essentially staying flat. We are staying flat where most metropolitan areas continue to grow. And the big difference is we have this much older population. So while we do have people moving in, we do have immigrants from overseas coming in, we have more older people, so we have this anomaly created.
It's harder to move the meter, is
well,
what you're saying.
We have more people dying than being born because we lost in the exodus in the 80s when the unemployment rate reached 18%. We lost all of these young people going other places, and we lost the children that they were going to have as well.
Right, so you're trying to sort of fight that battle on two fronts, I guess
Right.
you would say. And yet at the same time, it seems that every time you turn around, there's a new something on every street corner. So it's not that there is not growth going on economically, but in terms of the job situation, was the 0.5% about what you expected to see for the month of April?
So when we dropped unemployment, and when it dropped to 5.3 from 5.8 last April, that is good. We're still much higher than our benchmark regions, which we compared Pittsburgh Today. And the reason is, post-recession, during the teeth of the Great Recession, we were doing great. We had job growth compared to everywhere else that had job losses. And so we were an anomaly on the high side. Since then, we've settled into our usual path, which is very slow growth, and job growth is really tied to population growth. So it's no mystery that we just settle right about at the basis line. When the Marcellus Shale, when oil and gas prices collapsed, 2 years ago, we had much higher unemployment and much lower, we had job losses. So we're starting, I think that with that area stabilizing, we're starting to see this, again, instead of losing jobs, we're starting to see this very tepid growth. So it's not a surprise. We see in the city, we feel like the city is much more vibrant, and it is. And there's all these restaurants and activity and vitality around. And we think, my gosh, how could these numbers not reflect that? Well, the numbers really kind of do reflect it in some ways. When we look at Pittsburgh, a lot of us and political leaders are focused on the city. But when we look at the metropolitan area, 7 counties, we're really, in Armstrong County and Fayette County, 7 point something unemployment. Tale of two cities, really. The outer region, which is not doing as well, and the inner core, which is doing better.
And sometimes it starts at that core and then slowly ekes its way out
Sure.
to the
Hopefully. Right.
farther lands. How much of a separation is there between when things are being built and then when the population starts to see more jobs? Is that a 2-month separation? Is that a 6-month separation? Is that a 2-year separation?
When there are jobs, an excess and abundance of jobs, and when they're high-paying jobs, and when you are an unusual place during the Great Recession, when we had jobs here to offer and other places didn't, we saw population. It's a fluid, mobile labor force, so people move in. And that, whether it takes 2 to 6 months or a year, good question. We've had relatively a higher unemployment rate and fewer jobs in a lot of areas because of that Marcellus stuff. So it's not surprising to see people say, well, I'll go to Philadelphia, I'll go to Washington, or I'll go somewhere else. So We will, when our unemployment rate drops below other places, we'll attract people, and when the opposite happens, we'll lose them.
Well, thanks for making sense of it for us this morning on the Sunday Business Page. Always good to see you.
Thanks, Rick. Good to see you, too.
Thanks so much for your insight. When the Sunday Business Page continues, we're going to talk a little bit about